Of Talk of the Heartland with Mckoy are not necessarily the opinions of Walnut Media USA, management, any particular denomination or religion, the mailman, the church lady, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now, here's the Talk of the Heartland with Mckoy on KCRO, the Heartland's Christian voice.
Good afternoon. It is the 9th day of the 12th month of the year 2022 of our Lord. It's a Friday, and I'm Mckoy, and welcome to the Friday edition of Talk of the Heartland here on AM 660, FM 106.7 in Lincoln, and all around the world at KCRO.com. It is Friday, and we always have a little extra fun on Friday, and I think you're going to have fun today. I have a gentleman in my studio who is, well, you got a great title, the director of blended music, and I'm going to ask you about that blended later, all right? Blended music and kingdom growth at our own Covenant Presbyterian Church, which is on our radio station, live every Sunday morning. Services are 9 and 11 on Sundays, and happy birthday. You guys are 125 years old this year.
Well, thank you. That's great.
Were you there in the beginning?
I was not there in the beginning.
Is there anybody there when it was in the beginning?
I don't think so, but we have a lot of people that have been there for a lot of years.
Yeah, I'll bet. And the unique thing is that Kevin and I grew up 12 miles apart.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Down in, you were in Cortland.
Yep.
I was in Beatrice. And then Kevin came to Beatrice and served as a pastor in a couple different churches.
Oh, just one. Just one church in Beatrice.
All right.
Yep.
And then you came up here to Covenant. And here's the really cool thing, and you're going to hear some of his work in a little bit. He is a composer and arranger. All right, Mac, you've got them on the radio from time to time. Yeah. We know how that goes. Well, listen to this. Where are you going next year?
In 2024, I'm going to Carnegie Hall.
2024.
Yes.
And you got an orchestra.
Yep.
And a choir.
And a choir. They'll put together a choir, yes.
And those aren't people from Omaha. Those are...
Some people, it'll be some people from Omaha, because people
Okay.
in the choir can be people that know me and that are interested in singing. As long as I recommend them to come join us, they can join us and be in the choir. The musicians in the orchestra are professional musicians from New York City.
All right. And you're going to direct one of the songs that you composed and wrote.
Yeah, the whole concert will actually be music that I've written
all
over
of
the
it?
years. Yeah, the whole concert.
But you're a big deal.
Oh no, I'm not a big deal.
You and Kenny Rogers, you're my guy.
Oh
you know?
no, I don't think you can put me in the same place as Kenny Rogers.
I don't know. In the world of Jesus, composing and arranging hymns. How many do you have published?
I lost count, but I think it's probably 20 or 30 different individual pieces with choir.
I don't think Kenny Rogers had 30 number one hits, so I'm just telling you.
Well, I'm not saying these are number one hits either. So.
Well, but we don't do that with him.
Okay. Yes, you're right. You're right.
So so I'm Catholicism as I grew up, and then I went Lutheran. Would I be familiar with any of those hymns? Would I have sung them or something?
It just depends on if the choir director at your church happened to use some of the pieces that are out in publication. And I think the very first piece I ever had published was way back in 1993. But then I started getting more later, and I think my arrangement of "I Have Decided to Follow Jesus," which is one of my favorite little choruses, was kind of the start of a lot of my things getting published, and that was 2007.
Okay.
So,
any famous Christmas songs?
I have one that actually has sold pretty well that is called a silent...
Grandma Got Run Over by a
No,
Reindeer.
it's not Grandma.
Oh, shoot.
I try to kind of have a little bit better message for Sunday morning church.
I saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus.
Not that either.
Okay,
This one
all right.
actually is entitled "A Silent Night Brings New Light."
Oh,
so
neat.
Yes.
And what's the song we're going to play later on?
Actually, it's an arrangement I just did for this Christmas season for my choir here at Covenant, and it's an arrangement of the carol "Still, Still, Still," which has always been one of my favorite carols.
And if you're wondering how you can hear some of this music, it's on YouTube, but they have a Christmas program called A Christmas to Remember, and it is tomorrow at 4,
Yep.
right? And then Sunday at 2, and the good news is it's open to the public.
It's open to the public, and it's totally free. We don't even take a free will offering. We just offer it to the community as kind of a Christmas gift from Covenant to Omaha. And we'd love to have people come out. There's some drama involved in it. It's actually a musical that my wife and I wrote together.
Oh, my gosh.
It'll be a new one.
It runs in the family.
It does.
Plus, you also said you have a son that plays drums.
I've got my oldest son plays drums. My oldest daughter is a drummer. My younger son is a graphic designer, but he's a singer and had scholarship in college as a musician.
Yeah.
And my youngest daughter
was a runaway.
No, she did. She's a sax player.
Oh.
So actually, she played in the Cornhusker Marching Band. And kind of the unique thing about my older two kids, they were drummers, and they were actually on the snare line together at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So that was
That's
kind of
cool.
I think it made the front page of the Beatrice Daily Sun because, as
Well,
you
it
can
shoulda.
imagine,
Yeah.
in Beatrice, that was kind of a big deal when
Well,
you had a brother and a
Anything
sister.
in Beatrice is a big deal.
That's true. That's true.
And I love my hometown. I don't make
Yep.
fun of it or anything.
Yep.
But, when something like that happens, the Daily Sun has always been, unfortunately, it's no longer owned locally, but it's owned by Gannett.
Right.
Boy, they'll find us, and we'll be right there on the paper so everybody will
Yeah.
know.
So that was kind of fun. We had a great time with that.
All right, so one more thing before I get to my stuff. So obviously you married a musician or a singer or somebody who's involved in music.
Yep, my wife has been an instrumentalist. We kind of laugh that we're band geeks. So she plays reeds.
I resemble that remark.
And so she's a reed player. She actually was a math teacher originally when she came out of college, and now she's a licensed professional counselor here in Omaha. So
Really?
she's had a variety of things in her job scheme as well. So
You mean like a shrink?
yeah, like a
Wow.
counselor. But you'll get on the
That's
piece.
got to be scary to come home and how was your day, dear? Well, let me tell you. Oh, let me sit down and let me get my paper and pad.
She doesn't do that to me a lot, but it's been good probably for me to have somebody who kind of keeps me in check. So
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing.
Well,
So-
what if you went home and said, well, I'm really mad at my wife today?
Well, I don't think I could do that.
All right. Well, Kevin and I are going to go through some of the pastor's questions, and we're also going to play a song. He's directing it. This is the song that he arranged, and it's called Still, Still, Still. Is that right?
That's right. And my wife actually is the one playing the soprano sax on this as well.
All right. So we're going to let you listen to a little bit of that before we go to break. And then in 4.5 minutes, we'll be back, and we're going to talk to Kevin with some of the pastor's questions. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I'm Mac McCoy, and I love my job, and I couldn't do it without you. Right here on 660 AM, a regional radio station for the Midwest, FM 106.7 in Lincoln and all around the world at KCRO. about the Rockettes. I'm talking about Jesus-centered Christmas shows because, we got to keep Jesus in Christ. Christmas. That's number 40. And he's got one coming up tomorrow and Sunday, a Christmas to Remember. And it's also part of a play.
Yeah, it's based. It takes place as a Christmas telethon.
Okay.
So this family is trying to raise money to help families, and you kind of get to see a story and meet one of the families and one of the young kids that is in the room.
And did you say that your wife directed that?
No, we actually, my wife and I wrote this one. So we're excited about it.
Well, the important stuff is coming up. We're going to talk about my two favorite subjects, Jesus and sin. Can't do one without the other, brother. We're coming back on AM 660, FM 106.7, and we are all around the world at KCRO.com.
Right now, thousands of Omaha families are struggling to escape poverty amid record inflation. But this holiday season, you can help them to find a way forward by giving to the Salvation Army. When you donate to the Salvation Army, you help fill empty stomachs, warm cold hands, put presents under the tree, and more. Join our effort to love beyond Christmas. Give to the Salvation Army today at omaharedkettle.org. That's omaharedkettle.org.
Hey, this is Mac from Talk of the Heartland, and I want to tell you thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you. And there's many ways to listen to us. You have Facebook. You have KCRO.com. Plus, you've got our, if I may say, world-famous app on your phone that you can hear us anytime, fully digital. And don't forget smart speakers like Alexa or Google. We just want you to listen. And no matter where you are when you're listening, at home, at work, or in the car, remember to write it down. We are AM 660 and 106.7 KCRO. And we want to hear what you think about what we do. So call me at 1-402-819-2666 or email me, Mac, like macaroni, Mac at KCRO.com.
Truth University.
I believe many of us long to experience a greater reality of God's presence and God's power. I believe many of us want to know Christ in a greater way. I believe our hearts all need to be revived, but so few voices are going to bring us to that place where we can see revival again in our land. Amen.
Truth University with Pastor Aaron Trimble of West Point Family Worship Center. Saturdays at 4 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 8:30 on KCRO.
The ministries you listen to every day here on KCRO all have one thing in common. They're all working to bring souls to Christ. Many of the ministries that do such a fine job of sharing the word of the Lord never know the impact they have on their listeners' lives. So today, take a minute and let your favorite program know they are making a difference. If you need contact information for a specific program, you can call us here and we'd be glad to help. Thanks for listening, and God bless.
100 years KCRO.
Good afternoon. It's a Friday, and you know what I say. That means 15% more fun on the Heartland's Christian voice. This is KCRO.com. Hey, don't forget, it's always your voice I want to hear on the Talk of the Heartland. And you can email me, and I want to hear what I can do better. Yes, you always say something that you really enjoy, and you like this program and that program, and you never say you like mine, but that's what I need to hear. I need to hear what you want to hear on your local. We are the only local Christian talk show in Omaha, and we are very humbled to have that place in your heart. So anything we can do better, it's easy to get a hold of me. Just email me, Mac, M-A-C like macaroni, at KCRO.com. All right, my guest today is Kevin Boesiger. I'm saying that right?
You're saying it right.
All right. And he is the director of Blended Music and Kingdom Growth. Now, blended music.
Blended music. Yes, music, of course, has been almost a controversial subject when it comes to churches because of so many different styles with contemporary or hymns or traditional. And so blended is kind of that term that came up, it's been a number of years now, where if a church kind of uses some of the newer contemporary things but still uses the hymns as well.
Yeah.
So we have our 11 o'clock service we call our blended service. It uses a little bit of both, although most of the newer songs that we sing there are older now. So I don't know if you can consider them truly contemporary, but our 9 o'clock service is strictly a contemporary service. So we use some of the more contemporary things, and it actually meets in the gym down below in a different space than we do for our 11 o'clock. Yeah, so it has a whole different feel to it. And we offer that at 9 o'clock, and then the 11 o'clock is what we call our blended service.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Do you allow another growing church use the worship center then upstairs?
Well, no, because we're up there using that space at 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we're still using both spaces. One happens at 9. 10 o'clock, we got Sunday school. 11 o'clock, we're upstairs. So,
well, that's cool. And you are an ordained minister.
Yeah, the church I was at before in Beatrice, Christ Community Church in Beatrice, ordained me. I've served there for 27 years.
Wow.
So my wife and I that's basically where we raised our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good place to raise them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, there are so many good memories that come out of that community. And I suppose it's what you get out of it. But, you know, I can only name a few people that I can recall that didn't go and do something that was important to the world or the kingdom or whatever it was. And I don't get to Beatrice much anymore. My mom and dad moved about 20 years ago. They follow my sister around like a puppy dog. First they were in Connecticut, and now they live in California. But mom and dad are still living on their own.
Wow.
And I don't mean assisted. They live on their own.
Yep.
92 years old, married 65 years. And Dad, I don't know if you remember my dad, but he had a great sense of humor, and he still does.
That's an accomplishment.
Yes, he's an amazing guy. I love him greatly. All right, so because you are an ordained pastor, you get to have some fun with the pastor's questions. Now, my audience is used to this.
Sure.
So they know that I basically start at the top and move down. And when I give you a tough one, see they're highlighted?
Mm-hmm.
I will ask you that before the commercials.
Okay.
While you're in the commercials, you can look it up or run away, whatever you want. And then after that, we'll talk about it. And Kevin, feel free to unpack. This is not a quick answer. There are times when we may only get through 5, 6, 7 questions, and that's perfectly fine.
All right.
All right, here's an easy one to start out with. Are you the son of a risen God or a sinner?
I'm both.
Very good.
Now, do I get points for all these that I get
Well,
correctly?
if you want me to keep them, I've got
right.
chocolate in my office.
Yes. But yeah, we have to have both. I mean, I'm a sinner, and that's why I need Christ. I need the grace of Christ and what he did on the cross. But he makes me a son of the risen Savior, and the risen God.
So you are both.
I am both, man.
All right. Are we, so this would be everybody, a spiritual being having a human experience or a human being having a spiritual experience? So a spiritual being having a human experience or a human being having a spiritual experience?
I would say we are a spiritual being having a human experience, because if you go back, especially as you look through the Psalms and some of those verses like Psalm 139, that whole passage that talks that God knew us before we were even knitted in the womb. So to me, that means our spirit was already there in existence, and he's known us from the very beginning of time into the end of time. And of course, if we have Christ and we are following him and we have Jesus, then we're going to have that for the rest of eternity. So that's going to be well beyond our human bodies and our human life.
Well, and Kevin, I've had people tell me when pastors, when I do that question, say this isn't biblical, so they're not proclaiming this, but there's probably a good chance that we walked with the Spirit of Jesus from day one, because he wasn't a human in heaven.
Right.
He was also a spirit. So we could all go, play tetherball or something together.
Well, I don't know. You wouldn't want to see me play tetherball.
Well, you wouldn't want to play me either. All right, my guest today is Kevin Boesiger. He is the director of blended music and kingdom growth at Covenant Presbyterian. You hear them every Sunday morning here on KCOR. They are celebrating 125 years in the community. That's got to be one of the first.
Yeah, I think it's one of the older churches that's in the area, and they've had several locations. So the location that we're at on 150th and Blondo, we've been there since '89.
Okay.
So,
and they have services at 9 and 11. 9 is contemporary.
9 is contemporary. 11 is traditional blended. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I've got Kevin on today is because they have a great Christmas program coming up. And if you're like me, and I hope you are in some ways, you love Christmas music and you love Christmas theater or plays or whatever it is at churches. And Kevin's got one coming up Saturday at 4 and Sunday at 2. It's called A Christmas to Remember, and it's open to the public free of charge. They're not even going to take a free will offering. So mark that down on your calendars and do that. Christmas to Remember, Saturday 4 p.m., Sunday 2 p.m. at 150th and Blondo. That's Covenant Presbyterian Church. All right, we're going to take our break when we... Oh, wait, no, I have a little time yet. Okay, another question.
Okay.
When you get to glory, who's the first person you want to talk to? And Jesus and Grandma don't count. I'm just telling you. Because if I don't do that, everybody's going to say, well, Jesus or Grandma.
Wow, who is the first person I would want to talk to when I get to glory? There'd be so many different people.
Well, and from what you told me about your grandma, that might have been the choice.
Yes, that would be one person I'd like to talk to and see again. And I have a feeling that once we step into that situation, I don't know how much of that's really going to matter to us when we get in the presence of Christ.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be pretty enthralled with what's going on.
Well, maybe for the first million years or
maybe
so. Then I hope we spread out and make new friends.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, so the answer was who?
You said I couldn't say my grandmother.
Right.
So
I'm waiting for the answer.
No, I probably would like to talk to my dad again because it hasn't been that long since he's been gone, and that would be good.
All right. And so what's the first thing you'd ask him? I haven't had my allowance in 22 years, Dad. You owe me.
No, I don't think I'd worry too much about an allowance.
All right.
But I think what would be the first thing I would ask him? Boy, I just have not stopped to think about that before.
Okay. If you come up with an answer later, you can tell us.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. We're going to take our break, and when we come back, here's one of the more difficult questions.
Okay.
All right. And this is the one you'll answer when we come back.
Okay.
Is tolerance a characteristic of someone with no convictions? So is tolerance, the operative words, characteristic, person with no convictions? My guest is Kevin Boesiger. He is the director of blended music and kingdom growth at Covenant Presbyterian, 9 and 11 on Sundays. They're at 150 in Blondo. And remember, this weekend, Saturday at 4 and Sunday at 2, and it's open to anybody. Even I can go. It's a Christmas to remember. Choir,
drama, children's choir, and some instrumentalists.
That's awesome. All right. That's coming up this Saturday and Sunday at Covenant Presbyterian. I'm Mac McCoy, if I haven't told you lately. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Coming up at 5 o'clock this afternoon, Nebraska football coach Ron Brown and Michael Bliss. And no, under any circumstances are we talking about Nebraska sports. We're going to talk about my two favorite subjects, Jesus and sin. And that's coming up here at 5 o'clock on AM 660 and FM 106.7 and all around the world at KCRO.com.
Still make you crazy.
Hello, this is Alan.
This is James.
This is David.
And this is Walter.
AJDW Conversation.
You can listen to AJDW Conversation every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on AM 660 KCRO.
You can't use human tools
and win a spiritual war.
Dr. Tony Evans says your only hope to defeat the devil is to suit up with God's armor.
The battle is not yours, but the Lord's. You must learn to dress for success.
The weapons of spiritual authority and other most requested messages of the year. All this week on The Alternative with Dr. Tony Evans.
Tony Evans, weekday evenings at 7:30 on KCRO, the Heartland's Christian voice.
Sweet hour of prayer.
Greetings, 660 KCRO listeners. This is Pastor Brian Page of the Pleasant Green Baptist Church here in Omaha, Nebraska, where we are a Christ-centered ministry that ministers to all God's people. Hey, we're coming to you with great joy and excitement to let you know that the Pleasant Green Baptist Church will be airing the Sweet Hour of Prayer broadcast every Sunday from 9 to 9:30 a.m. on 660 KCRO. Please tune in to the show and be blessed.
Now your forecast for KCRO for Omaha, Council Bluffs, and Lincoln. Mainly cloudy tonight with a low of 25. Winds out of the southeast around 5 miles per hour. Daytime highs approaching 44 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Lows dip down to about 21 tomorrow night. Clear skies. Mid-40s Sunday, turning warmer Monday with highs in the upper 40s and scattered showers possible. I'm weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley on KCRO. Right now, 36.
Good afternoon. It's a Friday here on KCRO. Good afternoon. Of course, that's the theme from the miniseries Chosen. You've heard me say it. I'm going to say it again. I won't get into my favorite scene because I know it'll make you cry. But if you haven't started watching this, watch it. It's in its third episode, and all of the episodes, and they're free of charge, they are on YouTube under The Chosen. It is one of the most accurate, biblically accurate betrayal of Jesus and the 12 disciples and what happened to them during their ministry in the Holy Land. So if you get a chance, see that. Now, my guest today is Kevin Boesiger. He is the director of blended music and kingdom growth at Covenant Presbyterian Church, which you hear every Sunday here on KCRO. I've been there 125 years. Not Kevin, but the church.
Well, thanks for clarifying that.
I think I need to do. And services are at 9 and 11. 9 is the contemporary service, and 11 is a little bit more traditional, which is really unique because that's the opposite. Most people do their traditional early and their contemporary later.
Right. Yep.
You probably have a very good congregation number that time.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth and talked about the schedule for that very reason. But yes, we have a strong congregation at that 11 o'clock slot.
Now, one of the neat things about Kevin is he is a composer and arranger, and in 24, I just think this is so cool, Kevin. You're going to lead an orchestra and a choir at where? I think I've heard of it before.
Carnegie Hall.
Oh man. Yeah. Man, and that's not something you get unless you're good. I mean, you do know that.
Well,
I'm just
I
telling
appreciate that, yes.
I've never been invited to do a radio show there. But congratulations.
So, yes.
That's cool. And Kevin's had like 30 hymns published, and he'll continue to do that. And his family's very musical. His wife's very musical. So I got to ask you, so all 4 of your kids play instruments?
Yes, they all played musicians. I have my 2 oldest. We have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
So we go boy, girl, boy, girl.
Now, if I had one of your children in here and they could say something without being scolded by Papa, did you force all those kids to play music? They didn't want to be football players or economic professors or
No, I feel like we really didn't push them to do that because my folks were great about that as well. My dad in particular was a farmer, and so he farmed with his dad, and there was at some point when I was young as a small child would talk about, I want to be a farmer like my dad. And as I grew up and as he saw the interest that I had, realized that, farming was not going to be the career path for me.
Yeah.
But he never really pushed that on me. And I tried to not do that with my kids as well. And I think they do that because they had a love for it, and of course it was in the house.
Well, and it's in their genes.
It's in their genes.
I mean, that stuff is hereditary.
It is, and it was always kind of exciting to me. My grandmother is the one that taught me how to play piano,
as well as a whole bunch of people.
Yes,
in
Southeast Nebraska.
Yeah.
She was kind of the piano guru down there, and she's the only one I studied with till I got to college. But her father had several of the community bands in that area. Was the director of the Cortland band and the Firth band and the Hickman band, and so for a while for about 12 years here, and I just gave it up. I was directing the regional orchestra in Beatrice, and I always felt like that was kind of a nice little ode to my great grandfather, who would have been a bandmaster of all these little community bands. So it's kind of a cool thing.
Awesome.
But
and no joke, or all joking aside, music is hereditary, because what I've been told is in the womb we're raised around it, and so it's natural for us to come out and want to sing or play or whatever it is.
Well, and if you look at it from a scriptural standpoint, even with the tribes and the priests, there were families, the priests, that were given the duty of being the musicians.
Yeah.
And so, that whole family would be musicians and would provide music for the church and for the tabernacle.
Well, that's awesome. And we are going through some of the pastor's questions because he is an ordained minister. And, I'd really like to talk to you about Calvinism.
Would you?
I would. But I don't think we're going to, are we? Probably not. Do you know who, you probably don't know this, Bill Bowers?
Oh, but he was a pastor at
Dundee.
Covenant. At Dundee. Oh, yeah.
Was he at Covenant, too?
I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Because
he was at Dundee.
Okay.
And he and I are in a Bible study together. And he is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. One of my favorite people. All right. Here's your tough question I asked you before we hit the break. Now it's time to answer. Is tolerance the characteristic of a person with no convictions? Here's the operative words. Tolerance. Characteristic, man, woman, person of no convictions.
I would say absolutely not. And the reason I say, and I'm kind of emphatic about that, actually my wife and I have a podcast we call Grace and Truth, that we kind of address some of these tougher issues and some of these things that are hard to talk about sometimes in the church.
Now, wait a minute, hold on, time out. I didn't know I had a competitor on the show.
No, you don't. We only put out twice a month, and they're a little half-hour podcasts.
And where can we find them?
If you go to the church website, to covenantomaha.church, there up in the menu, you will see Grace and Truth. So you'll see a spot where you can click down and listen to that podcast.
All right,
covenantomaha.church.
All right.
That's our website. You'll get to the church's website, and on the menu, there's a Grace and Truth.
And it's what? Grace
and Truth.
All right.
Yep.
Is her name Grace and your Truth?
No, not at all. Her name is not Grace.
Okay.
So,
all right.
We talk about some of these.
You didn't tell me that before.
Well,
my audience just left. Listen, you'll hear the silence.
No, they're not there. They're still there.
They're on the website.
No.
Grace and Truth. Well, you know what you got to do sometime. Here's the invitation. I didn't know this. I'd love to have the two of you come on and talk about not only that podcast, but, I mean, you guys are a family that's involved in Jesus through music and theater and all that. It'd be fun to listen to that.
Oh, we'd love to do that. We'll schedule it. We'll do that.
Can she out-talk you?
Well, I think she can, but she would say she can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Would she bring her saxophone and play it maybe for us?
I don't know. You'd have to ask nicely.
Well, I can ask.
Okay.
Nice. Kevin, I know you've known me a long time. And nice is not one of the characteristics people put up with me.
All right. So this tolerance question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I got assault.
It's all
Rabbit
good.
trail. Come here, Fido.
But what I think the problem is that tolerance, we assume that tolerance means that I agree with you, that I have to agree with you on every issue.
Yes.
And the actual definition of the word tolerant means we are not going to agree on something, but we are okay with each other.
So when somebody, okay, that's interesting. So when they think it's agreeing with them, I'll use me for an example. So if I think it's agreeing with them by being tolerant, I'm really ignorant of the definition of tolerance.
Right. And I think that's why then people feel like, oh, I'm compromising my convictions, because in order to be tolerant, I have to agree with them on every aspect. But the definition of tolerance means two of us don't see things the same, but we're going to still show grace to one another, and we're still going to have love for one another, and we're going to be able to have a conversation, and hopefully we're both going to learn something from each other that will draw us both closer to Christ.
You know what that reminds me of, and I know somebody's going to laugh, but remember the show we grew up with called Dennis the Menace?
Mm-hmm.
Him and Mr. Wilson could not have been farther apart.
Right.
But Mr. Wilson was an example of tolerance.
Yeah.
He really was.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, don't forget, I told you a little bit earlier, Kevin and his church, Covenant Presbyterian, will have a Christmas show for you on this Saturday and Sunday. It's called A Christmas to Remember, Saturday at 4, Sunday at 2, open to the public, no free will offering or anything, and it's 150th and Blondo. All right, and by the way, Kevin is also an accomplished composer and arranger. You've had like 30 hymns published, and then also you're going, let me see, this city, small city, I think of an apple or something.
New York?
Yeah,
that's the place.
The city that never sleeps.
Right.
But you're going to perform in Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, June 23rd, 2024.
Wow.
So.
When you heard that, you remember that moment?
It kind of came about in an interesting way, but when I found out that was going to be a real possibility, the exciting thing for me is we're going to be doing works of mine that have been published. So I have 4 or 5 songs, and then I'm writing something brand new to premiere on the stage at Carnegie Hall. And I've told people it makes me both sick to my stomach and excited at the same time.
Sure.
So
now you're going to have to, and I don't know anybody at the Daily Sun anymore, but somebody down there's got to write that story.
Yeah.
Both of us being from southeast Nebraska, they're so very good about saying, look what our kids, our grandkids have done, and they're all, they have roots here in Beatrice and Cortland in that area. So congratulations. Is it going to be televised or recorded?
No, it's just a performance.
What do you mean you're not going to record it?
Well, we really don't have the opportunity to do that there.
Oh, it's Carnegie Hall.
I know. That's why. It's Carnegie Hall. They want live performances done. But here's the good news. I will have enough choir people from the area, I believe, that we'll do kind of a home concert in Omaha and at Covenant, we'll do a concert there and have the orchestra bring in some string players and actually do a performance of what we would have performed on the stage in Carnegie.
So I have ideas every once in a while, and some of them aren't bad. I'll bet you, and if I could do anything, I would, but I've only been back here a couple of years. But you ought to call Nebraska Public Television. They would get a hold of the public television affiliate in New York, probably are able to come out and at least get one song, and then they could put it on Nebraska Public Television.
Oh, I'll have to see what I can do.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
That's kind of what they do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, one more question before we take our last break. Let me think here. What's a good one? Oh, here's a good one. Okay, we're going to take you out of the out of the choir director and orchestra director's position and kind of turn you back into a pastor for a minute.
All right.
Is your church a cruise ship or a battleship?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say that...
Thank you. I've never been told that.
Yes, that's a good question. I think we probably lean more towards the battleship side.
Okay.
Because I do think that there's a lot of issues that we're facing today in our culture that makes it kind of hard.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes there are some, stands that we have to take that we are not necessarily in the mainstream or popular.
All right.
So, but I would like to think that for Christians, it would be a great place to cruise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I for what it's worth, I think you're right. And I have some people say cruise ship, and I don't disagree with it. And that's what their church is. But Yeah, especially in this day and time, we've got to be ready for battle. All right, so here's your last tough question. And you can answer this with your beliefs. It doesn't need to be that of Presbyterian, or you were ordained or you educated as a Methodist. So here's the question, one of my favorite questions. What happens from the moment you die until the moment you see Jesus?
Okay, I'll think on it.
My guest is Kevin Boesiger. He is the director of blended music and kingdom growth at Covenant Presbyterian, 125 years old this year. Congratulations. And they are at 150th and Blondo, services at 9 and 11, and this weekend, a Christmas to remember, Saturday at 4, Sunday at 2, no charge, no free will offering, just come and enjoy music all about the birth of the man who Christmas is named after. After all, it is Jesus Christ in Christmas. I'm Mac McCoy for Talk of the Heartland, and we're coming back in 2 minutes on AM 660, FM 106.7 in Lincoln, and all around the world at kcro.com.
This is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live. Do you have any character-building people in your life? That's what I call the people that make your life difficult. We hate the fact that they're even in our lives, but without them, we'd never come close to what God wants for us. Tune in at 1 o'clock Monday through Friday as we answer questions on how to deal with some of the character-building people in your life.
Have you ever done anything in your life you considered so bad that Jesus wouldn't forgive you? Well, I've got good news for you this week on Living Word Ministries. God is always seeking you out. First, to have a relationship with you, and secondly, to be reconciled back with you if you've ever turned away from Him. Please join me, Debbie Blank, Sundays and Mondays at 5:30 p.m. as we can seek out these answers together from God's Word.
Hi, this is Mac from Talk of the Heartland, and you know, it's no accident you're listening to us today. We've been praying for you. We know that there's something stirring inside of you that you wish God would answer in a prayer. Well, we're praying for you too, and maybe, just maybe, God will slip that answer to your prayers into the show with one of the guests or the pastors, or who knows, maybe even me. We want to hear them at 1-402-819-2666. It's Mac at kcro.com. And no matter where you are when you're listening, at home, at work, or in the car, remember to write it down. We are AM 660 and 106.7 KCRO.
Lofi's Holiday Sweepstakes is back. The Bakers of Country Hearts would like to put a little more jingle in your holiday this season by giving you a chance to win one of two $500 prizes, or the grand prize of $1,000. Winners will each receive a check that can be used for travel, gifts, or just celebrating with family and friends, whatever makes their holiday more jolly. For complete rules and to enter for your chance to win, visit countryheartbreads.com/sweeps.
The Heartland's Christian Voice. KCRO.
Good afternoon. It is the 9th day of December in the Lord's year of 2022, and this is the Christian Voice of the Heartland. This is AM 660 and FM 106.7 in Lincoln and all around the world at kcro.com. Want to remind you, coming up in about 11 minutes, a great show. And I know you hear me say that every time, and that's because I put the great shows right after me. I want to lead into the best. And today is probably one of the best of the best. It's a great hour. 5 to 5:30 is Nebraska coach Ron Brown, and no, we're not talking football. His wingman is Michael Bliss, and they have a show called Alive and Active, and it's a great, great, great ministry. Then after that, Jeff Kaiser from Harvest Church has a half hour, which is called Come Home, and it's both of those are amazing, amazing shows, and they're here every Friday from 5 to 6 exclusively on the Heartland's Christian Voice, AM 660, FM 106.7, and all around the world at kcro.com. Well, my guest today has been Director of Blended Music and Kingdom Growth at Covenant Presbyterian, 125 years old this year. Happy birthday. And services are 9 and 11, and it's at 150th and Blondo. Now, the reason he's here today is because this Saturday, which is tomorrow, and then Sunday, they're presenting their A Christmas to Remember program. And it's part drama, music, both sung and orchestra. And it's just going to be a great program. I have that feeling. It's open to the public, no cost. So here's your first Christmas program that you can see here in Omaha. And that's at Omaha's Covenant Presbyterian at 150th and Blondo. All right, so you are an ordained pastor, so we've been going through some of the pastor's questions. And this is one of my favorites. Because nobody knows the answer, right? Right. So it's really, especially for those of us that have been blessed enough to be given that gift of the Holy Spirit. And I don't know about you, but I just love reading the Bible, love studying it, etc. And this is an answer you can get pieces of, but you'll never get the for sure until it happens to you. So, but here's the question. What happens from the moment you die until the moment you see Jesus?
Well, I think you immediately are taken into his presence. So I guess personally, I don't think that I'm going to be lingering here for any reason at all. And I wish I could quote the scripture right off the top of my head, but I believe there's a passage that talks about being absent from the body, but being present with the Lord.
It's in Hebrews.
So
and Paul also writes about it a little bit in Romans.
So I believe that
Ephesians.
Once he calls us home and our time is done, we've accomplished what he has for us here, our purpose on earth, then we are immediately in his presence, and we're going to spend the rest of eternity with him. So,
all right. Now for some of the easy ones. What Bible character reminds you of you?
What Bible character reminds me of me? Well, I've always been David, not...
Oh, I can't believe you said that.
Not David as the fighting Goliath and all of that, but David as the musician. Because he was very accomplished as a musician.